and settle, please.
They're not going to start. They never start. It's you.
Hello, everyone. Just to inform you, please, nobody approach the dais from this point on. Welcome to today's hybrid hearing of the Committee on Parks and Recreation. Place all electronic devices to vibrate or silent mode. If you wish to submit testimony, you may send it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Again, that's testimony@council.nyc.gov. Thank you for your cooperation, Chair. We are ready to begin.
Thank you so much, Sergeant. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shekhar Krishnan, Chair of the City Council's Committee on Parks and Recreation. Today, the Parks Committee will consider 3 pieces of legislation as part of our hearing that aim to make the city's swimming pools more accessible and safer for all New Yorkers. The city's public pools and beaches are run by the Parks Department and are no less a valuable recreational resource than the thousands of parks and playgrounds that fall under their jurisdiction. Millions of people make use of them each year, and the number of visitors continued to rise since the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the extent to which and how crucial our parks, pools, and beaches are for New Yorkers. For the first time since 2019, outdoor pool attendance passed 1 million people in 2022, which was an increase of nearly 20% over 2021. I'm sure this upcoming season will see an additional increase as well. Therefore, we have to be prepared to meet this increased usage with enough lifeguards and resources, and target the long-term future by building more pools, especially in neighborhoods that have been denied easy access to quality open recreational space. These recreational facilities have played a historically important role in the city's history. Pools first started out as public baths in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and soon evolved into actual swimming pools as recreation centers were constructed. During the Great Depression and continuing through the 1940s, the New Deal era Works Progress Administration worked with the Parks Department to develop a series of outdoor pools for public enjoyment. This resulted in 11 pools being opened within weeks of each other during the summer of 1936. In the 1960s, DPR even experimented with portable pools, which prefabricated above-ground pools with attached wooden decks were designed for children 14 and under. The portable pool program provided pool facilities to underserved neighborhoods throughout the 5 boroughs and were expanded to over 72 at one point. As more permanent facilities were built, these pools were phased out. As the decades progressed, more pools were constructed, with the most recent being the Flushing Meadows Corona Park Pool and Rink, which opened in 2008, and we were just recently at when it reopened. Currently, there are 53 outdoor swimming pools, 17 mini pools, and 12 indoor swimming pools, which are located in recreation centers. Outdoor pools are free and open to the public, typically from late June through early September. In the 1930s, when the city began to reclaim its waterfront, Parks Department was also given jurisdiction over the city's beaches in 1938. The Parks Department now maintains 14 miles of free public beaches on the city's 578-mile coastline, which can be found in every borough except Manhattan. The city's pools and beaches represent some of the best examples of how municipal resources can be used to serve residents from all walks of life, particularly low-income and working-class New Yorkers who have not had the means to vacation or seek recreation outside of the city during the stifling summer months. But that doesn't mean these services have reached their full potential to adequately meet the needs of the entire city in an equitable way. The key is all of us as New Yorkers, all our communities, especially those that have historically had the least amount of access to pools and swimming resources, deserve the same resources as well, and if not so, more attention at this point too from our city government. For example, using a similar metric that is typically used to determine access to public open space, 65% of Manhattan residents are able to walk to a pool in 15 minutes or less. followed by the Bronx with 34%, Brooklyn with 31%, Staten Island with 19%, and my borough of Queens with only 12% of residents able to walk to a pool in 15 minutes or less. Further, although there are 64 parks locations that contain pools, there are 18 council districts that currently have no pools. This includes areas like Lower Manhattan, South Brooklyn, most of Queens, including my district. Clearly, we can do better with focusing our resources on where we can build more pools. The sufficient number of lifeguards, or lack thereof, has been particularly problematic recently. DPR has historically assigned around 1,400 lifeguards to beaches and pools throughout the city by July 4th. However, during the 2022 beach and pool season, DPR only hired 778 lifeguards by July. Pools and beaches remained open. However, due to the lifeguard shortage, the Parks Department altered opening hours and suspended swim programs, including lap swim, senior swim, and learn to swim in outdoor pools. Now, the Parks Department has recognized this problem, and the department this year, in planning ahead, has reacted by raising pay rates for new and second-year seasonal lifeguards to $21.26 per hour, and by offering a $1,000 bonus for those who work through mid-August. The department is also engaged in numerous efforts to start the recruitment process earlier and improve outreach efforts and increase the number of applicants who are applying for lifeguard positions. I think the bills we will consider today will help the city to take a big step forward towards addressing these issues. Intro number 962, sponsored by Majority Leader Brooks Powers, would require the Parks Department to conduct a survey of sites owned by the city to identify suitable locations where additional public swimming pools could be built, with the focus on environmental justice communities, and determine whether sites can accommodate more than one pool or other athletic equipment. It would also require that DPR consult with the Department of Education on creating a plan to open pools under DOE jurisdiction for use by the public, and would require that the Parks Department offer free swimming lessons at swimming pools under its jurisdictions. Just as we've done with school playgrounds and schoolyards and making them community playgrounds, here is an opportunity to look at our public pools in our school facilities the same way as well. Intro number 760, sponsored by Councilmember Menon, would require the Parks Department to provide swimming lessons for free to children aged 13 and younger. Finally, a pre-considered bill sponsored by myself would require the Parks Department to submit an annual report on staffing levels and training for the city's pools and beaches programs, including information on the seasonal recruitment of lifeguards, the number of emergencies that occurred at each beach and pool, and the current number of pools that are closed for public use due to maintenance or other issues. This information and this transparency about lifeguard staffing, hiring, and the proportion of lifeguards versus the pools that we have in our city is vital to making sure that ultimately as a city, we can get to a place as soon as possible where all our pools and beaches are adequately and appropriately staffed by lifeguards. The more data we have, the more transparent that data is, the more we can plan ahead and make sure that we are proactively finding ways to address any potential issues. I look forward to hearing comments and testimony on these bills by the administration and the members of the public who have come to testify today, and exploring other ways by which we can equitably expand pool access to more New Yorkers. Now, a couple of my colleagues also have opening statements. Before turning to them, I'll just review which of our members of the committee are present today. We have Councilmember Menon, Councilmember Dinowitz, Councilmember Ressler, Councilmember Carr, Councilmember Ung, Councilmember Holden, Councilmember Moya, Councilmember Brooks Powers, and Councilmember Lee. Now I'll turn it over to Majority Whip Brooks Powers for her opening statement regarding her bill.
Thank you, Chair. I'm so excited to be here today to hear a bill that is of crucial importance to my community and to communities all across the city, public pools. In the Speaker's State of the City, she said that access to public pools is a matter of justice. She's right. Too many communities are deprived of the recreational and health benefits a pool provides. 18 council districts, most of which are in historically underserved outer borough communities, lack a Parks Department pool. Members of these communities are deprived of the opportunity to learn to swim and to swim safely. 1 out of every 3 Black students cannot swim, while only about 1 out of 10 white students cannot. The absence of swimming programming is particularly problematic in my district in the Rockaways. We are surrounded by water, the Atlantic Ocean and Jamaica Bay. Each year, we lose community members off the shores of the peninsula. In 2019, for example, at least 7 people drowned, all young people of color. Kids cannot learn to swim without access to pools and programming. Reassuringly, the mayor and the speaker are both committed to fixing this problem. Last month, the mayor announced a $55 million investment in pools at Roy Wilkin Park, which will expand swimming opportunity in Southeast Queens. And the council's recent budget response makes clear that we will prioritize this issue in the coming budget. I hope that the bill we'll hear today, Introduction 962, will help further commit the city to resolving swimming inequity. This bill would require the Parks Department to conduct a survey of sites owned by the city to identify suitable locations where additional public swimming pools could be built, with a focus on environmental justice communities, and determine whether sites can accommodate more than 1 pool or other athletic equipment. To consult with the Department of Education on creating a plan to open pools under the Department of Education jurisdiction for use by the public, and to offer free swimming lessons for children and adults at swimming pools. I look forward to today's conversation about how we build more pools and bolster swimming programming. We must do better by communities across New York and work towards providing pool access to every New Yorker, no matter where they live. Thank you. And I just apologize, I'll be ping-ponging between 2 hearings, but thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Majority Whip Brooks Powers. And now I'll turn it over to Councilmember Menon for her statement.
Thank you so much, Chair Krishnan, for holding today's important hearing on several bills related to swimming for New Yorkers. Learning how to swim should be as common as learning how to ride a bike. Yet since 2008, at least 58 people have drowned at beaches or pools in New York City. Water safety is absolutely critical to make sure that all New Yorkers are not at risk. That is why my bill, Intro 760, would require the Department of Parks and Recreation to provide free swimming lessons for children aged 13 and younger. In addition, no child will be denied free lessons because their parents or guardians have unpaid recreation membership fees. In the United States, drowning is the 2nd leading cause of unintentional death in children from ages 1 to 14. No parent should ever have to endure the pain of losing a child to such a preventable tragedy. Formal swimming lessons have been proven to reduce the risk of drowning in toddlers and in preschoolers by 88%. Yet just a fraction of New York City's children are currently served by the city's free swimming program. The city must do more to expand access and lessons for New Yorkers who wish to swim. According to our Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, 1 in 4 children, or 27%, do not know how to swim. It is clear more can be done on the city's part to increase the number of swimming programs and allocate more resources to create a better inventory of lifeguards to keep all New Yorkers safe. Every child should have equal access to these life-saving lessons, which is why it is vital that we examine today how the city can go a step further and provide free swimming lessons to all children 13 and younger at no cost to parents. I want to thank the bill drafter, Christopher Sartori, and from my team, I want to thank my Chief of Staff, Jonathan Shutt, Legislative and Budget Director, Brandon Jordan, and Daniel Cronin. I thank the Chair for allowing me to speak, and I'm really looking forward to today's hearing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Menon. We've also been joined by Councilmember Marte. Now, today is not only a big day for our pools and beaches, but it's also a big day for Councilmember Marte, as it's his birthday as well. So happy birthday. Now, at this point, before we turn it over to the administration to testify, we're going to have our first panel from the public testify. So I'd like to call up Sean Slevin from Swim Strong, and also Tara Eisenberg, who is virtual, I think, right?
Would you like me to go first, or is Sean here?
Sean's here. Let's have Sean go first, and then we'll go to virtual after. Go ahead, Sean. Oh, yeah, turn your mic on, please.
Trying again, that's better. Greetings, Commissioner Krishnan, council members, concerned citizens, friends. I'm Sean Slevin with Swim Strong Foundation. And as you know, New York City is a city of water, but for decades we've been an aquatic desert. We're under a triple threat of rising water levels, increase in storm strength and frequency, and developing waterfront areas. The New York City Panel on Climate Change anticipates by the end of this century that New York will experience 25% more annual rainfall than it does today. The intensity of that rainfall is increasing and more water is falling in shorter periods of time. These cloudburst events can and do exceed our capability, the sewer's capability to absorb them, and frankly, bottom line, we can no longer avoid the water. Therefore, at this time, we must take advantage of this opportunity to create and realize a vision of climate resiliency and adaptation that centers on climate justice, the principle that all people should live, learn, work, and play in a safe, healthy, resilient, sustainable environment, even as our climate changes. Standards for determining if a community has adequate swimming pool facilities are difficult to come by. The National Park and Recreation Association has published a recommendation for communities to have one pool per 20,000 people. We look at our Parks Department, which has 58 facilities, of which only 12 are actual swimming pools, and only 6 are potentially available year-round. And in no way, of course, does this come anywhere near the recommendation of a pool for every 20,000 people. And the recent map drawn up by Councilmember Selvena Brooks Powers is a very strong visual of the lack of infrastructure in this regard in the council districts across the city, with 18 of 32 districts not having a public facility at all. This is unconscionable when you consider that teaching water safety and swimming skills are a public safety imperative in a city surrounded by water and now increasingly threatened by more severe water situations brought by climate change. Swim Strong Foundation is grateful to finally see some acknowledgement of this gap in addressing our public safety. Building multi-use aquatic facilities is not only important for the teaching of water competency, but for the development of skills for use for first responder professions such as lifeguards, EMT, specialized services in NYPD and FDNY, as well as careers in the Coast Guard, Marine, Navy, and maritime industry. Developing swimming skills is not only important for safety, but for our physical and mental health. There is no better total body workout than swimming. It is the only activity that we can do from womb to tomb, and it should be embraced as part of everybody's exercise regime. From a mental health point of view, there have been studies which show the calming effects of water, even just to be near it, not necessarily in it. I not only ask for support for this current legislation, the 3 bills, but ask that you broaden it to include situational knowledge of water education to be taught in our schools. Water safety training is not a conversation we have only in the summer or around recreational events. In the fall, we've got hurricane season, making our rip currents much more lethal, even from storms happening hundreds of miles away. Every winter, we rescue people who have fallen through the ice. In the spring, we've got flooding and the need to understand when it's not safe to cross water on our roads and streets. We even have this new phenomenon, sunny day flooding, which has nothing to do with rainfall, but everything to do with supermoons creating supertides that far exceed our normal high tide levels, and those waters have nowhere to go but up onto our roadways and streets, causing flooding in areas that have always been bone dry before. We need to learn new skills to prepare ourselves for the way water impacts our lives. Our families need to understand that water safety and swimming skills are as important as buckling up your seatbelt when you get into an automobile or understanding what to do during a fire. I'd like to thank the following for providing funding for our educational program: Speaker Adams, Council Members Ariola, Brooks Powers, Krishnan, Lee, Osei, and Palladino. I ask that all of you follow their leadership in the next budget session to ensure that your schools receive this training as well. In closing, no one goes to the water and expects a bad outcome. in conjunction with building infrastructure that protects our lands and buildings from higher water levels, let us also build the aquatics infrastructure and IQ, water education, and swimming skills for every New Yorker. To my knowledge, this is a unique moment in time where New York City and state legislators are beginning to understand the criticality of creating a pathway of accessibility and equity for all New Yorkers to gain the knowledge and skills needed to be safe in, on, and around the water. Now is the time to seize the moment, to seize the day, to build a life-saving aquatic culture for all of New Yorkers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for Swim Strong's great testimony as always, and great work too. And now I'll turn it over to Tara Eisenberg from CUNY Law School.
Your time will begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As I was introduced, I'm Tara Eisenberg, a student at CUNY Law School, and I've been studying our policies around pools. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, so this is very important and personal to me. I'm grateful to see the council prioritizing this issue, and the proposed legislation is a step in the right direction, but I urge us to think more broadly about how to fix our broken system of pools. So 2 suggestions I'm offering today. 1, we undertake a full evaluation of our existing aquatic infrastructure to inform a comprehensive citywide aquatic master plan that acknowledges and leverages our existing strengths and weaknesses, in addition to identifying new sites and facilities. And suggestion number 2, which I'm actually borrowing from Sean, I hope that's okay, is that we hire an aquatic czar to get this done. That person can coordinate the multiple agencies behind these resources to marshal our collective energy toward designing and enacting the plan that will balance safety and equity concerns with usability and visitor experience. The lack of swimming education is a huge issue in our city of islands, as we've already heard. However, as the committee report suggests, this is not the sole reason that pools demand more attention and resources. Properly maintained and well-programmed pools provide athletic opportunities, they serve as cooling centers, they act as childcare spaces, and they can be fun, essential to building community bonds. They can provide year-round civic, gathering, and educational spaces, such as outdoor classrooms, and this is especially important in communities that are sorely lacking. The report that the committee put out leaves out that many of our pools were originally sited in parks where discriminatory housing practices led to slum clearance projects, and so uplifting them as community resources also offers opportunities to repair historic and ongoing racial harms. As already noted, it has been over half a century since any administration addressed the need for new or better pools, and reviewing our pools as a network will uncover where future change is warranted. The COVID pandemic reminded us how our essential outdoor community spaces are so critical. I was pleased to see our city respond with creative solutions, including open streets and open restaurants, but where were the open pools? This was not just due to a lifeguard or a resource shortage, but pools have long been seen by the Parks Department as risk management headaches, plagued with a myriad system of confusing and unfriendly rules and designs that intentionally deter lingering and enjoyment. Tellingly, even in recent years, NYPD presence at the pools has remained a priority despite other cost-cutting measures. I know my local pool, the Kosciuszko Pool in Bed-Stuy, consistently, last summer at least, it opened over a half hour late twice daily, citing the need to wait for NYPD. We have our priorities totally inverted if we're more willing to spend money on letting children suffer for 30 or more minutes in the hot sun waiting for police than we are to find resources to make the pool function during a time where outdoor spaces are so critical.
Your time is
This
expired.
is emblematic of the park's primary view of pools as a liability. It underscores the need for an aquatic czar to assess our pools with fresh eyes. And I'll just leave with a note that investing strategically in our pools as the essential resource they are and the economic driver they could be would be critical for us. The committee report opens with the assumption that public pools help provide vacations and recreation for some people who do not have the ability to leave the city during the summer months. And it is true that many of our neighbors take our dollars elsewhere in the summer, but I don't think the pools are only for those who cannot afford to leave. What if the city provided equitably sited world-class swimming and cooling community facilities right here that actually encouraged people to stay? And what if all who visited our pools felt safe and welcome? What if everyone who enjoyed our beautiful beaches felt confident as swimmers because they had access to lessons at regulated facilities? An aquatic czar working from a pools master plan can go a long way toward realizing this vision, and I thank you for considering this testimony today.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Eisenberg. And before we continue, I just want to note that we've been also joined by Councilmember Narcisse for our hearing. And now I'd invite, okay. I think Majority Whip Brooks Powers has questions for the witness? Oh, for the end, okay. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite up our Parks Commissioner Donahue and the Parks Department to testify. I'll turn over to our counsel to swear in the witnesses.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Please raise your right hand if you're able. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee and respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
I do. Thank you.
You begin.
Great. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chair Krishnan, members of the Parks Committee, and other members of the City Council. I'm Sue Donahue, Commissioner of New York City Parks, and I'm pleased to be joined today by our first Deputy Commissioner, Iris Rodriguez-Rosa, our Director of Government Relations, Matt Drury, and other members of my senior team. I want to start by noting our appreciation for the Council's support for our city parks and open spaces, including our pools and beaches, ensuring that New Yorkers from all boroughs can safely access these incredible amenities, both indoors and outdoors, and enjoy all of the programming opportunities that Parks is able to offer. New York City Parks has long been committed to improving New Yorkers' quality of life through aquatic recreation, promoting health, fitness, and safety awareness at all of our pools and beaches. Whether cooling off in the summer or getting fit in the winter, there's nothing like a refreshing swim in one of our indoor or outdoor pools. And as you all well know, our city beaches are the primary getaway summer destination for millions of New Yorkers when the temperatures start to rise. I'd like to begin today by offering a brief overview of the beaches and pools that are under our jurisdiction. In addition to the 148 miles of waterfront parkland, our agency maintains over 14 miles of public beaches, which we manage as 9 separate beach areas located at various points along New York City's shoreline, all of which are open to the public for swimming and other recreational activities completely for free. Our beaches are open for swimming from Memorial Day weekend through the week after Labor Day. New York City Parks also has a total of 65 public pool facilities under our jurisdiction, 45 of which, nearly 70%, are located in neighborhoods that have been declared environmental justice areas or potential environmental justice areas, as defined by the EJ/NYC report, which identified low-income and/or minority communities based on U.S. Census data. 53 of our 65 facilities host outdoor pools ranging in size from the massive Olympic pools at Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx and McCarran Park in Brooklyn, which is 330 feet long and well over 4 feet deep, to our medium-sized intermediate pools, down to the wonderful mini pools located in our playgrounds, where you'll see some of our littlest New Yorkers splashing and enjoying the cool water on a hot day.
Many of our larger outdoor pool facilities offer smaller wading pools, primarily used by young children and their families, alongside the larger, deeper pools. The remaining 12 of our 65 facilities host indoor pools, usually located within larger New York City Parks recreation centers. New York City Parks indoor pools are crucial in delivering swimming opportunities to New Yorkers year-round. Our indoor pools are nearly all intermediate-sized, roughly 60 to 70 feet long, except for the larger Olympic pool at the Aquatic Center at Flushing Meadows Corona Park. With a New York City Recreation Center membership, which is completely free for anyone 24 or younger, and available to adults and seniors for a very low cost, New Yorkers can enjoy our indoor pools and our robust offerings of aquatic programming for no additional cost whatsoever. This programming ranges from water exercise classes for adults and seniors to our adaptive swim program, which offers aquatic exercise therapy for people with disabilities, to water polo or water ballet, and of course, our beloved lap swim and open swim sessions. Beyond the important benefits for health and fitness, tragic drowning accidents over the years have proved all too often that water safety and swim instruction can save lives. Accidental drowning is the second leading cause of unintentional injury-related death among children under the age of 14, with a disproportionate impact on Black and brown youth, which is why we are very proud to offer a wide variety of swim instruction classes so that New Yorkers of any age can learn vital water safety skills, develop healthy fitness habits, and have fun in the water throughout their lives. This takes place primarily through our Learn to Swim program, as well as through Swim for Life, our targeted initiative conducted in partnership with the New York City Department of Education. Swim for Life focuses on second grade students and provides them with a weekly class schedule, provides them with top certified swim instruction at our indoor pools during the school day as a regular part of their weekly class schedule, reaching over 260 second grade classes so far this fiscal year. Our young Swim for Life students are eager to learn and literally jump right into their classes with no fear or inhibitions. These young students are a true inspiration for us all and a reminder that it's never too late in life to learn how to swim, as we also offer swim classes tailored for adults and senior citizens. Nearly 8,500 New Yorkers of all ages have taken advantage of our swim instruction classes so far this fiscal year, joining hundreds of thousands of others that have benefited from our swim instruction programs over the past decade. Additionally, we have begun to offer dry land water safety instruction as part of our youth public programming, encouraging kids to be water safe in different environments in and around water, including water parks, oceans, lakes, and rivers. Our beaches and pools play a special role in our present daily lives, but they have also had a fascinating history, many dating back to the New Deal era of the 1930s. Of course, like any public amenity, our pools have seen a lot of intense usage over the decades and experienced significant wear and tear, which is why we are dedicated to investing in the care and maintenance of our pools and the facilities that house them. We have active capital projects at 4 of our indoor pool facilities and 5 of our outdoor pools. In addition, last year, this administration provided the agency with an additional $67 million in capital funding to bring over 20 additional pool facilities into a state of good repair. We are assessing the highest priority sites for these renovations and will seek to advance all of these capital projects as swiftly and efficiently as possible. Lastly, we are pleased to be working in partnership with New York City DDC to advance 2 new recreation center projects that will include indoor pools. The $144 million Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center at Nostrand Playground in Brooklyn, and a new $131 million recreation center facility at Roy Wilkins Park in Southeast Queens. These will be the first new New York City Parks pools in over 15 years, delivering access to state-of-the-art recreational and aquatic facilities to the communities that need them most. In addition to keeping our beaches and pool facilities in the best condition possible, we are constantly seeking out new opportunities to offer a truly special experience for our visitors. In recent years, through our Cool Pools NYC initiative, we've upgraded 16 of our outdoor pools with fun, summer-themed wall art, lounge chairs for sunbathing and relaxing poolside, cabana-style shade structures, new plantings, and fun and free poolside activities, including games, sports, arts and crafts, and fitness classes. We were very proud to reinvigorate and reimagine these sites, most of which hadn't been renovated or improved since they were built decades ago, and give New Yorkers the chance to experience an old neighborhood amenity in a completely new way. Keeping our beaches and pools clean, enjoyable, and safe is our top priority. And to make it a reality, it takes an amazing team of effort from our incredibly hardworking staff, including our maintenance and operations workers, aquatics programming staff, lifeguards, and our Parks Enforcement Patrol. We realize we're only a month away from the start of our beach season, and outdoor pools will be open shortly after that, so the agency is gearing up, preparing our sites and facilities, and bringing on thousands of seasonal employees that will work alongside our year-round staff to help keep beaches and pools clean and safe for the public to enjoy. It is no secret that many sectors of the national economy have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and many employers are still facing hiring challenges. And it's been well documented that qualified lifeguards are in short supply. While many U.S. cities had to make difficult choices in 2021 and 2022 to close their public beaches and pools or to start charging attendance fees, we were proud that New York City was able to keep all of our public pools and beaches open for free public use, a testament to the city's commitment to equitable access. Many council members and other elected officials helped us get the word out as we launched our lifeguard recruitment efforts late last year, and we are well underway in our training and certification process to make the 2023 beach and pool season as successful as possible. I'm pleased to note that the city has reached an agreement with DC 37 on a pay increase for new and second-year seasonal lifeguards, as well as a retention bonus for all lifeguards working through mid-August. But the reality is that the entire nation is still facing a very challenging environment for lifeguard hiring. Despite these challenges, keeping our beachgoers safe will continue to be our top priority, and our incredible lifeguards will continue to be a core component of our beach and pool operations. I'll now turn to the legislation being formally heard today, Intro 760, Intro 962, and pre-considered legislation 3294. Intro 760, as currently drafted, would require New York City Parks to provide free swim instruction to any child between the ages of 1.5 years old and 13 years old within a year of their application. Intro 962 would compel the agency to conduct a survey of city property to identify potential sites for new public pools. develop a plan to provide public access to pools under the jurisdiction of the New York City Department of Education, and offer swimming lessons at a minimum of 3 days a week at each of New York City Park's indoor pools for no additional cost to participants. Pre-considered 3294 would require the agency to submit an annual report including data on the number of lifeguards and other agency staff hired to work at beaches and pools, safety training provided to those hires, as well as information about emergency incidents at beaches and pools, and the number of pools that are closed to the public for maintenance or other purposes. As I hope we have made clear, New York City Parks is dedicated to making sure that New Yorkers can safely enjoy the most access possible to city beaches and pools so that they can stay cool, get healthy, or just relax and have fun. Millions of New Yorkers enjoy these amenities every year, and we dedicate an enormous amount of time, energy, and resources making these special places the best that they can be. In particular, it should be noted that some of the mandates that would be instituted by the bills as currently drafted would be very challenging to implement, given the existing limitations of our physical infrastructure and our existing staff. Having said that, we certainly share the Council's goals reflected in the legislation and look forward to discussing the bills further with the sponsors so we can better understand the intended outcomes and work together to address any operational or policy concerns. We'd like to thank the Council for their continued interest and advocacy regarding these subjects, as we know how important pools and swimming safety are to the constituents in your districts. If there are any questions on the legislative bills or related topics, we'd be happy to answer those questions at this time.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, and for your testimony and for the Parks Department's attention to this vitally important issue. Thank you, First Deputy Commissioner, as well, for all your great work, too. Before starting with questions, I just wanted to note for everyone, too, a big thank you to our Council's data team. We have some excellent data and maps online that really shows what I think is the most important theme of this hearing, which is the way in which access to pools historically and currently it is really dependent on where you live. When we talk about the resources and how where you live affects everything else around you, this is one of those things where where you live affects whether or not you have access to a pool within walking distance. And as you'll see from the excellent maps and charts that we have, some of which we'll reference as we go through our questions, there are a number of districts, mine included, in Jackson Heights and Elmhurst, that have very little to no access to pools within walking distance. And so, you know, it's something that I think we need to figure out as a city and really work to address. But I encourage you all to really look at the Council's data for some really, really interesting and impactful information. Commissioner, you testified before about the number of public pool facilities, 65 under the Park Department's jurisdiction. How many public pools under the Parks Department jurisdiction are currently open to the public? How many are in rec centers versus other types of pools?
Absolutely. So as I said, we have a total of 65 public pool facilities under our jurisdiction, and 45 of which, as I said in my testimony, are located in neighborhoods that have been declared environmental justice areas. Of those pools, 53 of them are outdoor pools and 12 of them are indoor pools. So the 12 indoor pools are in rec centers and the 65 are 53 of them are outdoor and 12 of them are in our rec centers.
And are all 65 currently open to the public?
No, of our indoor pools, 4 of our indoor pools are closed for capital maintenance and upgrading, and of our outdoor pools, 5 of those are closed, also for upgrades.
And is there any sense of when they'll be reopened?
We're working as quickly as we can. We know the importance of having these pools open. We also know the importance of ongoing maintenance. A lot of these, as you mentioned, Chair, in your testimony, are quite old facilities. They're from the, many of them from the 30s, so they take a lot of care and maintenance. So we'll be doing that maintenance and restoration and opening them as soon as we possibly can to the public.
And what did the Parks Department budget allocate for maintaining such beaches and pools?
Thank you for the question, Council Member. And the way our budget is structured is not by facility type, it is, or by property type, such as beaches and pools. Rather, it's based on, the need of New Yorkers, and we're looking to be able to serve New Yorkers equitably. So what we do is we allocate to our pools and beaches a certain number of staffing.
And is there some sense that numbers-wise of what that staffing is generally?
Absolutely, yes, for sure. So at an indoor pool at any given time, there are between 5 and 7 staff allocated. And at an outdoor pool, when they're open for the season, there are typically 18 to 22 staff members on site.
Got it. And how many lifeguards will be employed, or do you expect to employ by the Parks Department this coming season?
So at this point, the First Deputy has done an amazing job, as you know, in our recruitment efforts, and we want to thank the council for your help with that and distributing information. Right now, we have our lifeguards are in training. And we have also begun the process of recertifying returning lifeguards. So we don't have a number at this point in time, but we're working as hard as possible to be able to bring in as many as we can. And that's why it was really important, and we were thrilled to be able to announce this week about the increase in pay rate, all designed to hopefully bring in as many, especially returning lifeguards, as possible.
And what is the breakdown statistically of lifeguards and beaches versus pools?
The breakdown of, hold on. Just,
Sure.
breakdown of, Right. That's a question that we can absolutely get back to you on, for sure.
And given where recruitment efforts are, can you say a bit more about what's being done to recruit lifeguards? And are we on track to have the same number of lifeguards as last year, more? How are things looking so far?
Thank you for the question, Council Member. And, as I said, our recruitment efforts started in September of last year. As soon as the season ended, we were working on what we needed to do to bring more in. And, the council has been helpful with that. We've worked with other sister agencies across the board to try and do everything we can to get in as many lifeguards as possible. But to speak to some of the specifics of the recruitment, I'm going to hand it over to First Deputy Commissioner Rodriguez-Rosa, because she's been leading that charge.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Krishnan, for that question. And as the Commissioner Donahue mentioned, I wanted to say thank you very much to the council members citywide that they have actually taken our information and being able to distribute it to their constituents to be able to abide for recruitment efforts that we've tried to do. So we've done an exhaustive and aggressive efforts that we've made in terms of recruitment this year as opposed to any time before. So this year what we did was we actually hosted about 47 qualifying tests at 9 different sites throughout the city. We utilized DOE schools, and we utilized many of our recreation centers to be able to bring these qualifying tests to the communities to make it accessible for them. We had the testing or the qualifying exams done earlier this year. We started actually on December 2nd, and we went through March to be able to do these qualifiers to try to gain as many individuals to be able to come and test as possible. We also increased this year, instead of having done 50 yards in 35 seconds, we actually did 45. We increased it to 45 seconds to be able to allow for more individuals to be able to qualify to go into the training school. We also now make sure that the individuals that actually came for the qualifiers actually know what time that they made, because in the past they were not given the time. They were just doing a pass or fail. So we wanted to make sure that they actually knew that. And because of that, some of them that did not quite make it, the Public Programs Division of this agency was wonderful enough to provide a swimming improvement program, which really allowed, for the very first time, individuals that didn't quite make the qualifier to be able to improve their skills a little bit and be able to come back and try to test again. So I want to thank the Public Programs Division for having done that as well. We increased our outreach by going to the PSAL when they had their swim meets, and we were able to go to Lehman College watch and do that. We had an aggressive marketing campaign that included our bus shelters, news outlets, banners with DOE public schools, printed material, mailings to elected officials, community boards, friends of group, swim coaches, and you name it, we covered the gamut of everything. We also had the first ever, so I wanted to let you know that we had for the very first time the first ever meeting with the year-round lifeguards. So to be able to engage them and to bring them on board and for them to understand the importance of being able to bring some more individuals in. And again, this year we have the city administration also had, they had a collaboration of being able to have DYCD, DOE, Department of Health, Parks Department, all of us be able to meet together to talk about helping each other to be able to do additional recruitment. And finally, we also had an organizational grouping of individuals of YMCA, Asphalt Green, and other nonprofit organizations that were able to be part of an effort to be able to streamline, the qualifiers. And we shared, so those individuals that may have failed our qualifiers, we also shared that information with other agencies, so to be able to afford the opportunity for young people to be able to have employment. So I just wanted to be able to share that. So currently we have about 231 in classes A and B in training, doing that currently right now. So we're hopeful that many of them will pass the final test. And luckily we had the 21-hour, the increase in salary is also helpful in being able to get the message out. So thank you.
And I really appreciate hearing all the extensive outreach done and the different methods taken this year. But then it's still, the question remains, if you look at the percentage that will complete training, how many will return, do you all think you're on track to meet or increase the number of lifeguards that staff the pools compared to last year? And if not, one of our big concerns is the impact that will have, again, on hours of pools and operations. So can you speak a bit to what you're projecting, relatively speaking, compared to last year, where you'll be and what impact that will have?
We're absolutely hoping, and thank you for the question, Council Member, we're absolutely hoping to get to at least the same number we had last year, and all of the work that the First Deputy mentioned has been geared towards that effort. Really, leaving no stone unturned in terms of doing everything we can to bring in more lifeguards. But as I said earlier and in my testimony, this is not unique to lifeguards. Retail, restaurants are experiencing the same challenge with workers, and we're seeing it in the lifeguard pool, and so and the pool of recruits, that is. And so that's why it was really important to negotiate a deal for higher salary, doing everything we can in order to increase those numbers. But no, our projection is that we're hoping to at least have what we had last year.
Which is roughly about 900?
Yes.
Okay. And how many lifeguards in total would be needed to staff all the pools and beaches across our city?
The optimal number is about 1,400 to be able to be fully staffed and be able to run more than one shift. Not having that number means we can just do one shift, which is 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we do that and try and place priority on just the greatest number of individual citizens, having as much of the public be able to access our pools and beaches as possible.
So 1,500 needed to staff all of them for more than one shift being 11 to 7, on track to probably hit about 900, the same as last time. So what impact do you think that could have on the hours and operations of the pool?
So just to be clear, if we had 1,400 to 1,500, we'd actually be able to have more than one shift.
Right.
I mean, that enables us to do more. A lower number than that, like we had last year, reduced number, means that we can only have one shift, which is 11 to 7, and that does impact our ability to provide ancillary swim programming outside of those hours.
So other programs like Senior Swim,
Yes.
Lab Swim, all the other, the Swim for Life, all those programs would be impacted again this year.
Absolutely, yes.
Can you get a sense of what that impact would be? Would there be programs offered at all, or they would not be offered?
It's really hard for us to say at this time because we don't know what those final numbers look like. Until we do have a clear sense, I really can't say.
And can you just give some background? You testified to it before as well, but what will the starting pay be for, Actually, which one? I'll come back to that one. One more question was, part of what we had alluded to and Parks had alluded to last year and this year was this is a national problem, that it affects lifeguards. So, given that, has Parks reached out to other cities as well to collaborate on strategies to find ways to increase and retool? Because the way I see it is that, if it happened last year, it's going to happen again this year. This is a larger systemic problem that,
No doubt.
with no real end in sight.
Yeah.
So what are the shared strategies that you all are doing and employing with other cities to find ways to increase our lifeguard capacity?
Absolutely, and thank you. It's such a good question. As the first deputy commissioner mentioned, we were so pleased. There was a large task force that was formed back in November of all the different entities, partner agencies, organizations, sister agencies that are struggling with this same challenge. The YWCA, Asphalt Green, Swim Strong was part of that task force. DOE, DOHMH, for us all to share best practices, to look at how we could jointly recruit, what are some of the methods, and through that, task force, we're also looking at what's happening in other cities, looking at news reports, other information, and we're looking at really two things. We know it's about increasing the pipeline. How can we have more swim programming to get more kids to be swimming? And then also, what's the availability in terms of pool access? So having all of those folks, that's the first time that has happened, having all those folks around the table has been extremely beneficial, not just for us on the city side, but for all of the different entities that are struggling with this same challenge, having enough lifeguards to man their programs as well.
I'm glad to hear that the collaboration's happening. As I said, I think this is clearly a larger issue that we need to keep finding ways to more innovatively address, given the magnitude of the problem that we face. Because the numbers, there's a huge gap there, as you all recognize as well.
We agree, absolutely. And it's not, as I said, not unique to the city. These other entities, the YMCA, Asphalt Green, everybody is feeling it. That's why it's really important that we did come together. And we're all recruiting. We all have the same mission, the same goals, to provide as much swim opportunity as possible. So it's great to have everybody at the table and talking about the same struggles and challenges that we're facing.
Now, I do have, before turning it over to my colleagues for questions, I do have one more question. You testified to it before, as I mentioned, but obviously one of the biggest issues has been lifeguard pay. There are a number of factors as to why it's been difficult to hire or retain.
Yeah.
New York City has not kept pace historically, if you look at New York State and otherwise, with what lifeguard pay is, and obviously that affects the ability to hire or to retain. So what will the starting pay be for first-time lifeguards? How does it differ from the pay scale for more experienced lifeguards? And do lifeguards at beaches receive the same pay or different pay than lifeguards at pools?
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. And as I said, we're really pleased to be able to announce this week that the starting salary for first and second year lifeguards is going up to $21.26. So a significant jump from last year where it was at $16. In addition to that pay rate of $21 an hour, all lifeguards this year will receive a $1,000 bonus if they stay through mid-August. So that really brings the pay rate up to $22 an hour, making us very competitive with state, with other entities around the city. So really pleased to be able to make that announcement and put that in place. To your other question, beach and pool lifeguards all make the same rate. There is increased pay with seniority and as you stay with the lifeguard position longer, but that is we're really pleased with the increase in the starting rate.
Thank you for the information and glad to hear the pay increase for this year. It was very important for us as a council too, to make sure that's been addressed. But is it still the case that the city pay is less than the state pay at this point? What is the state pay for lifeguards? Or is it the same now?
I believe that it's the same.
It's the same?
We can double check and get back to you.
The last I heard, it was the same.
Okay.
From the state park that I spoke to, they indicated that we were now a pair.
Exactly the same. Okay, so there wouldn't be a concern then of, as you mentioned before, Commissioner,
There should
losing
not,
lifeguards to state pools.
Yep.
Okay, that's helpful to hear. I do have another round of questions to ask on a different topic, but I'm going to pause here and turn it over to my colleagues who have questions as well. So we'll start with Councilmember Menon.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you, Commissioner, for your testimony today. So a couple questions on swimming lessons. I wanted to get a sense of how many parents or guardians couldn't pay the recreation fee and were denied swim lessons in the past few years.
Thank you, Council Member, for your question. Luckily, none, because our swimming lessons are free.
So none were denied?
No. So if you're if you're a member of our recreation centers, and our recreation centers are free for anyone 24 years old and under, all our programming then is free, and so swim lessons are free. So no one is denied.
And how many free swimming lessons were provided, and can you do a breakdown by borough?
I don't know if we can do a breakdown by borough, but I am going to call up our public programs expert to really give you that. Margaret, do you want to come up? Our Deputy Commissioner for Public Programs, Margaret Nelson, to really go through the specifics, those specific numbers.
Hello. Yes, we were so excited that after the pandemic, when our recreation centers were closed for a period of time, that when they reopened, we were able to restart all of our swim programming. So for FY23, we have served about almost 4,000 through our Learn to Swim program, 4,600 children through our Swim for Life program, which is the second graders that we serve, and then another 1,739 with swim team, water aerobics, adaptive aquatics, things like that.
And in terms of advertising for these free programs, what is the advertising budget, and in how many languages are you disseminating that advertising?
So I think we primarily do the advertising at our centers and on our website. I don't think we have a specific advertising budget to go out, in part because we have to do a lottery, right? We do a lottery for people who want to participate, and we can't necessarily take all the kids at one time. So we run lotteries to participate in our swim.
Well, I guess that was really my question. With the lotteries then, if you're running the lottery, then how is it that every single child that wants, or parent that wants their child to get the swimming lessons is able to if there is a lottery?
Sorry, I think she was talking about no one was turned away for lack of being able to pay.
Your question was,
Right.
are they, what are parents paying? Are they turned away for not?
My main question is, are parents being turned away? And if so, how many parents? Like, where's the shortage? That's what I'm interested in.
I think we do have some statistics on our lottery programs. Let me just see if I can pull that out. But I think, in general, we cannot accommodate everybody who wants to do learn to swim, right? We try to, in each of our recreation centers, we're trying to find a balance of our programming. So we have lap swim in the mornings, we run different programs, we run our Swim for Life for second graders in the middle of the day, we have swim team programming, we have additional lap swim programming, we work in our Learn to Swim programming at least 3 days a week in all of our recreation centers. We're providing free swim classes to children. But again, we recognize there is a greater need in the city. You know, your legislation talks about, you know, every child under 13, which is probably over 1 million children.
Right.
We don't have the capacity to serve that, but we do, I think, a great job with the aquatics folks that we have, providing really quality swim instruction. And we serve, you know, again, thousands of children a year in our programming. And DOE also does their programming in their schools with their pools.
Understood. May I ask one more question, Chair? Is that okay? Okay.
Of course.
And just on the legislation, I just hope that we can think outside of the box, partner with not-for-profits, partner with universities, colleges that have pools. There are so many pools that we could be utilizing as a city, so look forward to having that. I know you're partnering with Asphalt Green and others.
I would love to use this opportunity to plug, this year, working with DOE, we have provided our Swim for Life programming for the first time in a while. Usually we do it in our recreation centers, Because we have no indoor pool in Staten Island, we're partnering with the Staten Island School to provide Swim for Life there. And because one of our only pool in the Bronx is closed for renovations, we're partnering with DOE for a school there to provide Swim for Life.
Okay, sorry, my last question, I just want to build upon what our chair asked about other cities, because I know that there are other cities that are incentivizing lifeguards. So, for example, in Phoenix, Arizona, they're offering a $3,000 bonus for lifeguards. Atlanta, Georgia, the YMCA Atlanta is offering free lifeguard training. Are there anything we can learn from these other cities, as the chair was asking, that we can build upon here in New York City?
Absolutely, Council Member, and thank you for the question. That is why we were so pleased, as I said, to announce the increase in pay rate with a retention bonus, a $1,000 retention bonus as well. Our lifeguard training is free. There's no pay for that. We welcome everyone and try and get as many people into that training as possible. We are absolutely looking for and open to best practices across the board and from across the country.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much, Councilor Menon. And I do want to return to those questions about, that's my second topic, when we come back later for a second round of questions. But I'll turn it over now to Majority Whip Brooks Powers, who have questions as well.
Thank you again, Chair. So I was excited to see the major investment in pool infrastructure in Southeast Queens at Roy Wilkins Park, and I wanted to talk about the process for selecting pool investments, just generally speaking, so as we're having a conversation that we know. Can you, let me move forward a little bit. In your testimony, you talked about a current list of investments in pool infrastructure parks would like to make or is considering making. How is it prioritizing these investments? How is Parks making determinations about which investments are most urgent? And then what other agencies does Parks currently work with on Parks programming? Does Parks have a relationship with the DOE with respect to school pools? And I also wanted to talk really quickly about modernizing the pool infrastructure and programming. How does Parks set rules and schedules at each pool? Has it conducted a system-wide review to ensure these rules are efficient and easy to understand? And lastly, what does Parks identify as major barriers to extending free swimming programming to all New Yorkers?
Thank you, Council Member, for the question. And we also were thrilled about the investment for Roy Wilkins for the new rec center, $144 million. It's a major investment for Roy Wilkins, and then a similar investment for the Shirley Chisholm, the new Shirley Chisholm Rec Center in Brooklyn. In terms of, we have across the board where we make investments is data-driven. It's where there is the greatest need, where there hasn't been investment in either, whether it be our playground spaces through our community parks initiative. We're looking at where we can provide the best and greatest access in areas of highest need. That the funding that I spoke about, we were really pleased in, that the administration put the $67 million in for state of good repair funding for our pools and our recreation centers. That state of good repair funding is based on, and we have, and Margaret and the team has a running list of where there are needs in our rec centers, whether it be, it's everything from pool roofs to boilers to just making sure that our facilities are as accessible and safe as possible. And then your question, nonprofit partnerships, absolutely. So we work very closely. I think first you asked about partnership with the DOE. We have a very long history of partnership with the DOE on a number of different initiatives. As Deputy Commissioner Nelson mentioned, our Swim for Life program is active and has been very active in DOE schools across the 5 boroughs. As I said in my testimony, we have 230 second grade classes that have participated in our Swim for Life programming in this last year. And we've been able to work with DOE to expand that Swim for Life programming so that kids during the school day are actually having swim instruction instruction happening. We also partner with the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene on their Making Waves program. So we look across the board at where any opportunity we can to partner with city agencies to provide more and better access to swim programming. Absolutely. And then, did I answer everything? There were a few questions.
You got another one. Go ahead. Do you need me to repeat it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. What does Parks identify as major barriers to extending free swimming programming to all New Yorkers?
And as Deputy Commissioner Nelson stated, we look to provide as much access, as widespread as we can. It is a matter of having the facilities available and the staffing, the aquatic staffing available to be able to provide that instruction.
Chair, can I just ask one follow-up question?
Of course.
So has Parks ever undertaken any planning around opening pools or pool grounds outside of the swim season? So for example, I understand Lasker Pool reopening as Mere Center will continue to be a skating rink, and heard that McCarran Park Pool had once tried skating in the off-season. How is Parks thinking about maximizing use of these facilities off-season?
Thank you for the question, and it is a good one. We do look where and when we can. McCarran Pool underwent an extensive restoration. It was a really exciting project. That pool had been closed for many years throughout the 80s and into the 90s. And so as part of that restoration, because it was actually such a huge pool that we were able to rethink the design of it to create some space that could be utilized in the winter for skating, for other activities. So we do look where and when we can. The Harlem Mere project that you mentioned is another example of, through the restoration process, when we have, kind of a brand new opportunity to rethink and look at the design of a pool, we are absolutely working with the community, asking questions about how we can make that available year-round.
Thank you, and I would love to work with Parks to follow up on the long-term plan aspect and the master plan, because I'm not really clear that Parks is doing a long-term holistic citywide strategic planning on pools. But, working with the chair and Parks Department, I would love to have further conversations. Thank you, Chair.
Absolutely, and thank you for your great questions and vital legislation for when it comes to pool access and equity across our city. And I'll turn it over to Councilmember Dinowitz.
Thanks, Chair. Appreciate it. Good. I never know if it's the afternoon or morning. Good afternoon. I love talking about pools because I'm always brought back to a great memory from 2 years ago at the Van Cortlandt Park pool. You seem embarrassed, Deputy Commissioner. Where the Deputy Commissioner was there and we celebrated the opening by jumping in the pool. I didn't jump in, she did. But it was a great moment, but I'm always brought back to that. And that's the pool in my district. And, the chair said there's good data. I would redefine it as robust data because, it's not great to see the data and see it right in front of you. That there is only one public pool in your district and that only 7% of the population can reach that pool within walking distance within 15 minutes. But I do want to refer back to our October hearing where we were asking about swimming and lifeguards, and I asked about the collaboration with the Department of Education. And I will say from the programming perspective, it is encouraging to hear that there is a lot of collaboration going on, that you are looking at other cities and other agencies. But one of the questions that I asked at the time was about infrastructure. And Commissioner, you indicated that it was part of your conversation was about physical infrastructure. We have Clinton High School, DeWitt Clinton High School in my district, which has the infrastructure for a pool but needs updates. It's not currently usable. And so I'm asking, what updates can you provide regarding your collaboration with the DOE to fix the pool at Clinton High School to provide more access to our youth for pools and to do exactly what you're talking about in this hearing, which is to increase the pipeline and pool access?
Thank you, Council Member, and we appreciate the question. We will make sure we let you know when we're opening the pools this year, because we love when we have people jump in with us. We welcome everyone to do that.
We're going to throw them in next time.
Really, it's
I don't
a
think
really
you can lift me,
fun
Chair.
day, and the First Deputy and I would love company and jumping in, right? Wouldn't we? Yes.
You got it.
So in terms of investment in pools, and in particular, opening up access, as Deputy Commissioner Nelson stated, we were really thrilled this year that we were able to expand access for our Swim for Life program into a number of DOE pools. So we were able to do more by having more DOE pools available. In terms of that particular high school and that pool, I couldn't speak to that. It's DOE property. It would be a question for DOE. We are in regular conversations. They're part of this task force. And they've worked really so closely with us to expand opportunities, not only for swim programming and swimming lessons, but for our certification process this year, for bringing in our lifeguards when we were recruiting. It's been a great collaboration. In terms of that particular pool, I couldn't speak to its availability or not. That would be a question for DOE.
Right, well, so I hear you saying that there's a lot of collaboration, and I guess the other part of my question is, why isn't infrastructure part of the conversation? I mean,
It is. That's how come we're able to utilize these pools for our swim programs. I mean, the pools that we're using in order to expand our reach are DOE pools as well.
I guess maybe I'm a little confused. I'm kind of hearing both things, right? Which is we have this great collaboration with the DOE for this programming, which is great, and we're using their facilities, but we can't talk to them about the facilities. And in this particular case, there's a real opportunity to fix a pool so you can continue to have that collaboration, but really provide opportunities for the youth in our district and for the broader community.
If I can briefly interject,
Yes,
I think the Commissioner's just trying to clarify. So, for example, I believe it's my understanding that the School Construction Authority, for example, would have oversight over the actual capital reconstruction of DOE facilities and assets. So, by all means, it's absolutely part of the conversation, and the state of a given facility obviously informs the partnership for potential programming. We hear you 100% on that and agree. But in terms of providing an update as to the feasibility of an upgrade or the timing of an upgrade, we would just need to consult with our partners there at DOE and SCA. And of course, we'll certainly be, letting them know about your interest on this front. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess sort of is the answer. No, just because I did ask in October about this, and it was indicated to me that it would be part of the conversation, and it sounds like you talked to them. And the truth is, if a school wants a physical facility for sports or whatever the physical facility is, then that is the DOE, and they do talk about that. And yes, then they reach out to the SCA. But I guess the request is have the conversation with them about upgrading the facilities, and then whenever SCA needs to get involved, that they can get involved. But that be part of your conversation, not just going in and providing the programs, but also really be part of that robust conversation about infrastructure.
Yeah, so those conversations are going on, absolutely, and they're at the table for this task force and talking about what's available in terms of pools. And, part of our conversations, the reason why we're able to expand into different areas outside of parks purview was because of those conversations about infrastructure and what was available at DOE. So those conversations are very much happening. But in terms of what happens at an individual school site, I do not have purview over, and I can't designate, obviously. That's
right.
Between the school and the School Construction Authority.
Okay, can you put it on your agenda, please? This is very important. I mean,
Yes.
you can look at the map, you can look at the hearing. It's the Bronx is really, especially this northern part where I represent. It's pool access, and again for you, the pool of lifeguards that you're able to hire would be greatly expanded if more of our high school kids had this opportunity, which they don't currently have.
Couldn't agree more, absolutely, and would love your help with those conversations as well with the individual school and with DOE.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Dinowitz. So I wanted to stick both on that theme and then also a theme that Councilmember Menon had raised before too, which was just taking a step back for a second. It seems to me, and I'm a strong proponent of this, but and done an op-ed earlier with Carter Strickland from Trust for Public Land, that a lot of our school assets, whether it's playgrounds, pools, tracks, all of these things should be open to the public because they're really important. They're a readily available source for our community, especially those that don't otherwise have access to these facilities. So, you know, as you know well, as someone who spearheaded the program in the schoolyard playground, community playground context, that's possible. But it seems here that's been slower with pools. And so I'm just curious to know, this is a starting point, how many swimming pools are located on DOE property? Are any of these pools open to the general public or to groups other than DOE students at any time?
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. And as I was saying to Councilmember Dinowitz, we have worked closely with DOE, and they've been really helpful in terms of providing access to pools where and when they can. In terms of number of pools on DOE property, that is information that I know DOE would be happy to provide and could provide to you in response.
Okay, I think it'd be very helpful to see that information, to know what potential is there.
Absolutely.
And has Parks and DOE ever discussed opening these pools for use by the public at times when schools are not in session? So not just the ones that are currently open, but even other ones as well. Recognizing these are DOE facilities, but has there been real consideration by both agencies to see what's possible during non-school hours?
Absolutely, yes. As part of our interagency task force, there have been all kinds of conversations about, you know, how do we have access to pools? How do we expand access to pools not only in park spaces but in DOE property? That has absolutely been on the table for sure.
And is there some sort of timeline or plan to actually make that happen? Because it seems to me, you know, of course there are issues with staffing to consider, the same way with the schoolyard community playgrounds.
Yeah.
But it seems like a really worthy investment. So I'm just curious if there's been a set concrete proposals or plans to make that happen on some sort of expedited timeline.
So the conversations that we've had have been fruitful, we feel like, and productive in that we have expanded access and we do have this programming, our Swim for Life programming, at more schools this year than we have had in the past. So that is happening. In terms of specific timeline for, you know, it is contingent on if you have a pool, you need, you know, the thing that we're most concerned about, certainly DOE is most concerned about, is safety. So you know, in order to have a pool open and available to the public, you need the requisite staffing for that. So you need lifeguards, you need personnel. So it is a matter of having that staffing available.
And that leads me to my next question. You know, you mentioned, Commissioner, too, the Learn to Swim, Swim for Life programs. And Councilman Menon had alluded to this before as well. Understanding that, you know, no students are turned away as a result of cost, I think one of the biggest issues is, given the need for swim classes, given the disparities in pool access, it's not so much, you know, anyone being turned away and recognizing these are free classes, but can we expand the partnerships, working with nonprofit organizations that are specialized in this, so you can serve even more people than would be possible otherwise, right? So even if you have a small percentage that are, you know, that are being served through the parks programs, even more could be served if we expand the network and collaborations. And so my question is, what is the Parks Department's view and consideration of working with qualified nonprofit organizations on swim instruction lessons, and how can we expand the partnerships that the Parks has available working with these nonprofits?
Thank you for the question, and it's one we appreciate, and absolutely, you know, as we've discussed here, we have a huge emphasis on making swim and safe swimming available for as many New Yorkers as possible. We have a long history of partnering with nonprofit organizations. We mentioned Asphalt Green. There's a variety of organizations that we've worked with. That's why we were so pleased to have this this task force come together that had all those different nonprofits around the table, so that we could look at different opportunities for sharing best practices, sharing resources, sharing recruitment, all of those things. In terms of specifically a nonprofit in our facilities, you know, the challenge has been that, you know, our programs are all free. And so if a nonprofit can come in and use our facilities and provide that programming for free, we'd absolutely welcome that.
And is there, I think you kind of alluded to it too, but during this task force meeting and as well, Is that one of the conversations being had, is about how to expand those partnerships and to bring in nonprofits? Because, not just with parks, but in city government generally, sometimes the best, most effective way to reach the most number of people is by partnering with the organizations on the ground that know the communities, that are doing the work. Seems like this is ripe for that kind of collaboration. So is that something that's being actively explored by this coalition?
Absolutely, that's what this task force is all about. It has the Legal Aid Society, it has DOE, it has parks, it has the YMCA and Swim Strong and all the agencies at the table to think about where are the facilities, how could we make the best use of them. Absolutely, it's all part of the conversation for sure.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about it too, because I do think it's a readily available solution. Recognizing, of course, the free nature of the classes and how we set it up, but these partnerships I think could be very effective. So look forward to hearing more about what's possible here and what the next steps could be. On that note as well, what is the cost to the Parks Department? I know the classes are free to the public, but to the Parks Department to actually hold these classes in the first place?
So in terms of staffing, you mean? Is that the question? Sure.
And any other costs associated with hosting these programs?
Sure. Margaret, do you want to take that in terms of those programs?
I think we're very fortunate. We have a great aquatic staff. So we have about, around 80 full-time and part-time aquatics instructors that work for public programs, and they're the ones that provide the free instruction. In addition to other programs, they help with our swim teams, our water aerobics. So they run a variety of programs, not just swim classes. And then we hire additionally seasonally to provide even more capacity over the summer. So I think that's why we feel we offer a great set of programs in the pools that we have, and we're really excited to have more pools come online. And then in terms of so it's primarily staffing cost. And the pools are already open, so it's really a question of what we're programming at what hour. So it's kind of a fixed cost. There's no particular additional costs related to the programming.
Got it. Thank you. And then finally, this is a question that Councilor Brooks Powers had asked before, but just following up. How does Parks set the rules and schedules at each pool and decide, the programming, when it happens, how it happens? Has Parks conducted a system-wide review to ensure these rules are efficient and easy to understand for the general public?
Thank you for the question, and we are very focused across the board, not only at pools and beaches, but at our playgrounds, at our rec centers, making certain that our facilities are as welcoming as we possibly can to the public. It's hugely important to us. In terms of the rules that we set for access to our pool, our recreation centers or pools, we have gone through an extensive effort with signage and making sure that our signs are clear. Rules are clearly posted, and it's on our website, just making sure that New Yorkers, when they come to access our facilities, they know what the rules are, yes.
Okay. And my last question, following up on legislation about pools and where they can be sited, does the Parks Department engage in its own process for determining or planning where more pools can be developed and for understanding the maintenance and capital needs of pools? So how are we looking at siting decisions already? I mean, granted, our legislation would address that as well, but how is Parks currently looking at siting decisions and then figuring out where maintenance should happen?
Thank you for the question. And the Parks Department has been, for a number of years, engaged in a needs assessment, capital needs assessment, to determine where and how we need to spend money. We are very focused on the ongoing maintenance of our facilities. As I discussed earlier, a lot of our facilities are aging and they're very well utilized. And so that's why, we were really pleased with, we're really pleased with the funding for State of Good Repair funding, so that we could get to that list, an existing list of where we had capital infrastructure needs and where we had repair needs, whether it be new boilers, new roofs. So designating that State of Good Repair money to the highest need across the different boroughs.
Thank you. And I want to also recognize that we've been joined by Councilmember Velasquez as well. And that concludes the questions that I have for this panel and we have as a committee. So I want to thank you all for your testimony. This is obviously a very, very important issue. Looking forward to hearing more from you all about the work that Oh, do you have a question? Sure. To be continued, Councilmember Velasquez has a question.
My colleague here with the second best park in the Bronx, hogging up the mic. I'm sorry about that.
Competition, man. I gotta go see both of them.
It still goes on. The Battle of the Bronx Parks goes on. Very quickly, and I'm sorry, you may have answered this earlier. When it comes to using park space, and is there an ability for private partnership, and what does that look like in that conversation, especially in a district like mine, where we really don't have that ability for a pool inside for our community? So what has that conversation been like, and how can we help?
Thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate the question. Do you mean partnership specifically for a pool space, for access to pools? Yes, absolutely. The Parks Department has a long history of public-private partnership in many different ways, many different types of organizations. Our Friends of groups, our conservancies are an example of that. We're always looking for ways to expand our reach and be able to partner with different entities to provide more access. Absolutely. I think, a lot of what we've talked about here in this testimony, the big thing for us in terms of providing that access is that it's free. Our programs, our swim lessons, our access to our pools and beaches are free to New York City residents. That's something that's really important to us, and it's something that we take seriously, and we know it's vital. We want to provide as much access as possible to New Yorkers and do it at a very low cost or free. So we are absolutely open to partnerships, and being able to expand our reach just needs to be able to work within the within those parameters of providing the greatest access as possible at a very low to no cost for New Yorkers.
Any specific conversations with SUNY? As I have SUNY Maritime in my district, I think that would be a perfect connection.
Yes, absolutely. That's a really great idea. And we've talked a lot here before you came about this task force that we have that is made up of a lot of different organizations that have pools and looking to see where we can expand access. So would love to have that conversation with SUNY, absolutely.
And I'll leave it to my colleague here, Eric, who is the chair of Higher Ed.
I am that. Thank you. Commissioner, I think it's so great that you attend so many of these hearings. I think that's wonderful. And now that you're here, and I'll remind you under oath, I just have a quick question. Which park is better, Van Cortlandt Park or that other one?
You are under oath.
First Deputy Commissioner said east meets west. I don't know.
Well, in which park would you rather go for a jog, let's say, on the beautiful natural trails of Van Cortlandt Park or somewhere else?
I don't feel at liberty to answer this question.
Great answer, great answer.
We love it. It would be like choosing between my kids, Councilmember Dinowitz. I have 3. I can't pick one. So
one has a beach and one has a pool.
One has a beach and one, exactly.
Wait, one has a beach?
Well, one has a pool.
Exactly.
And they're both wonderful, and we love them.
There are no sharks in pools. Right?
This is an ongoing debate here in the council, so I think we're gonna have to settle it,
We'll
Commissioner.
get it settled.
Go visit and decide for ourselves which has the better park.
Yes, we look forward to visiting both and spending time in both this summer, absolutely. And we would invite you all to, we talked about our Cool Pools initiative. We've really done so much in some of our public pools. We would love for you all to come and visit and check them out with us.
Absolutely. Well, if there are no other questions, then I want to thank you all for coming to testify today. Look forward to our continued work together on this clearly very important issue to many New Yorkers and the ways we can expand access to our pools.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And now we'll turn it over to members of the public for public testimony. We have witnesses both in person and virtual. Our first in-person witness is Kara Meyer. I stay out of it. You may begin. Turn your mic on, please.
Hello, I'm Kara Meyer. I'm the managing director of Friends of Plus Pool. And I'm here to express support of these bills. Our nonprofit was born out of Plus Pool, which is a idea for a water filtering floating swimming pool that will provide free and safe access to the rivers around New York City for swimming. It's shaped as a plus, hence our name. After years of advocacy, we're now working directly with the city to create a regulatory pathway to support safe public access to the rivers, joining the many cities worldwide that are reclaiming urban waters for swimming. This is thanks to decades of work improving water quality in urban waters since the Clean Water Act, and innovations like ours that we proposed. I bring this up because, as everyone's talked about today, there's 520 miles of waterfront, more than Boston, Miami, San Francisco combined, and that is a whole lot of public water that is controlled by the city to be assessed for additional public swim facilities. We have the lowest number of public pools per capita of 25 major US cities, only 0.7 pools per 100,000 people compared to Chicago's 3.3, Boston's 5.7. The effects of this are impacting swim education, of course, as we've talked about today, and affect children of color the most. As many of the stats have already been stated, I'm not going to repeat them, but I will say 79% of children with incomes of less than $50,000 do not know how to swim. And that's why we support this effort to put these facilities in environmental justice communities. We tackle this issue at Plus Pool through our programs because we believe it's necessary to our vision for the future that when the people that represent the full diversity of New York City are swimming safely in the river, they need to have the skills to be able to get into the river. I want to thank City Council Speaker Adams and Marte, who's stepped out for supporting our swim initiatives, or Learn to Swim initiatives the past fiscal year. Since launching our programs, we've provided more than 500 low-income youth with free swim lessons, a series of free swim lessons. This fiscal year, in addition to teaching 150 kids to swim with council funds, we've also provided opportunities to hundreds of families through our free family swim days and taught 95 adults how to swim since just last fall. Last month, we offered an all-day swim camp at John Jay College that merged our STEM curriculum and our swim curriculum, teaching kids about water quality alongside swim education. All of this teaching, all of our Learn to Swim programs follow the USA Swimming Standards for Learn to Swim programs, which requires a certain number of hours in the pool and a certain student-teacher ratio. Where do we produce these programs? Since we don't have our own facility currently, we lease pool time across the 5 boroughs. Frankly, due to the lack of adequate swim facilities, this means anywhere we can get pool time, really. This does not include, or this does include some private schools, I want to add, some of the testimony that was just shared with the Parks Department. It includes some private schools that open us up to us when school's not in session. So I think it's totally doable for DOE to do that. This fluctuates every year and creates burdensome administrative tasks, trying to identify new pools and negotiate prices. Pool time can reach rates as high as $600 an hour, meaning facility rates for our programs, because we do that series that's mandated by the USA Swimming Foundation, can cost us $5,000 per group or session. This is not factoring in instructor costs, equipment costs, lifeguards, or administrative and staffing costs. Identifying public pool facilities that can be made available to the private sector swim providers and working with the city to identify underutilized spaces, like the river, perhaps, where we can design and build more aquatic facilities is no longer a desire, but I believe a necessity and a basic need for our city. Equally important is the opportunity to increase opportunities for free swim lessons, we believe. As has been stated, a lot of data about that. Fatal drownings are the leading cause of death between kids 1 and 4, and the second leading cause of death for 5 to 14-year-olds. This is disturbing because we all know that this is totally preventable with education. 88% of our formal swim lessons can reduce the likelihood of childhood drowning by 88%. This should be a combination of in-class water safety that teaches students when to avoid the water and what to do in an emergency, as Swim Strong has done, as well as in-water instruction that teaches students how to breathe, float, move in the water. With proper facilities, we can start this in our universal pre-K programs. With all our waterfront and the increased water-related emergencies and extreme heat caused by climate change, it is simply irresponsible not to do so. I want to address a bit about the demand and constraints that came up just now in the parks testimony. Our youth program is totally free, and we work with NYCHA to identify children who need it most in our program. This includes going door to door, online recruitment, things like that. And last year, we had 1,000 people on our wait list, and we shut it down after 12 hours. With respect, I think in the assessment that 4,000 students served through the Parks Lottery, which is great, obviously it's many, many more than our numbers, but I do think it's limited to people who have access to the ability to apply for the lottery, know about the lottery. You know, a lot of the people that we serve don't have access to email or speak English, so there's that to be considered too. I think that there's also more that can be done to meet the challenges that have been addressed here with scaling and directly serve the proposed bill for free swim lessons for all. At Plus Pool, we've leveraged the private sector and built an organization that operates with about 24% of donated in-kind services and pro bono work. So I think local governments can also use this, and the private sector and nonprofits to meet these demands. In addition to providing some education for youth, we must also provide opportunities for adults interested in career opportunities in aquatics to assess swim facilities and hone their skills and prepare for lifeguard exams. As the City Council is well aware and has been discussed today, we have this lifeguard shortage. Since 2022, we've been working with Henry Street Settlement to co-design a workforce development program for our future facility that includes water quality testing, maintenance of what will be a unique facility, and lifeguarding. This past January, we produced an information session with Henry Street, attracting about 70 participants to discuss career opportunities in the field. We gathered feedback from training needs related to lifeguarding. We asked participants if they knew how to swim, if they were interested in practicing their skills to better prepare for the lifeguard exam, or if they were ready to take the lifeguard exam and get a job. And 56% of our survey respondents said that they were interested in increased training to prepare for the lifeguard exam. I think incentives for the private sector and increased funding for nonprofit groups to provide this advanced pre-training will greatly support the city's needs to supply lifeguards. And that's why we support these bills. So thank you for proposing them.
Great. Thank you so much for your testimony and for your great work as an organization. Now we'll go to virtual. We have Charisse Palomino from New Yorkers for Parks.
Good afternoon. My name is Charisse Palomino, and I'm the Director of Advocacy and Programs at New Yorkers for Parks. We are a founding member of the Playfair for Parks Coalition, which includes over 400 organizations from across the 5 boroughs. We want to thank the City Council Committee on Parks for inviting us to speak about today's public swimming pool hearing. I also want to thank Chair Krishnan for his leadership and partnership in the Playfair Coalition and for raising these important issues. The New York City Parks Department operates and maintains 64 parks locations with pools excluding 18 City Council districts, mostly in historically underserved communities. New Yorkers for Parks supports Intro 760. Swimming is a critical life skill, and providing free access to children under 13 can help alleviate the racial inequity associated with swimming. 1 out of every 3 Black children cannot swim, while 1 out of every 10 white children can. By requiring a survey of sites owned by the city to be considered for new pools can address some of the limited access and racial inequality that the city is currently facing. The pre-considered bill will require the Parks Department to report about lifeguard staffing and other important data. These bills are important steps to ensuring that New York City parks can provide critical opportunities for youth development and empowerment with free swimming lessons that offer health and sports benefits. Creating more access to pools provide older adults opportunities to socialize and be active, which is essential to their overall well-being. Our Parks Department has been chronically understaffed and resourced. Now is the time for transformative investment in our park system. 1% of the city budget for parks could ensure that Pools are fully staffed and functioning to provide programming that New Yorkers need. The New York City Parks Department does a valiant job maintaining these aging resources, but needs more funding to do so. This is one of the many reasons why New Yorkers for Parks and the Playfair Coalition are calling for an increase in the parks budget to 1% of the city budget, a call that the majority of the city council members support along with the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Sharice. Now we'll go back to in-person. Claire Hilger.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair. And it's kind of sad to see everyone gone, but I'm just going to go ahead. I'm Claire Hilger.
I'm here listening.
I'm a resident of Rockaway Beach, Queens. I'm secretary of Rockaway Beach Civic Association. I'm a participating member of the Water Safety Coalition, and I'm a swimmer. I am here today to testify my strong support of the legislation 0760, 0962, and 3294. First and foremost, we need free swim lessons because currently there are multiple barriers keeping all children from learning to swim and learning to be safe around water in New York City. I live in a community surrounded by water. There is not only the factor of proximity to Jamaica Bay and the Atlantic Ocean, but also the effects of climate change, severe storms, and flooding. We need to educate our young people on water safety and learning to swim so that they can thrive on a changing planet. With education and training, this is possible. What comes as the most shocking barrier is that there is not a public pool outside of 2 high schools, one of which is smaller than competition size, on the Rockaway Peninsula. How is it that an ocean-facing community has no public place where young people can learn to swim? There are private pools in Rockaway, but that would mean you'd have to pay. And we do not just need free swimming lessons from New York City Parks and Rec, but we need a pool where these lessons could be held. Free lessons in Rockaway now would be extremely limited or would require traveling off the peninsula, yet another barrier. What makes a community great? What makes it thrive? We need quality schools, places to shop, local businesses, arts, culture, safe neighborhoods, parks. We need parks with pools. Current Rockaway is experiencing a boom in large-scale residential building. All we hear is that on the news is that New York City needs affordable housing. But housing and what else? Especially if you are surrounded by water. Bringing a large, competition-sized pool to Rockaway could benefit the community beyond measure. Swimming lessons, education on water safety, lifeguard training. We've all heard about lifeguards, the shortage. Athletics, we could have youth and adult swim teams, competitions, events, and lastly, recreation and a fun and safe place to cool off on a summer day. It does not seem like a huge ask. New York City Parks and Recs have neglected many areas of Queens, not just Rockaway. Having a pool could provide education, recreation, and employment. Building a community of water people. If you are knowledgeable of how to stay safe in the water, that will open the doors to other activities on or in the water, surfing, kayaking, sailing, fishing, so on. This legislation needs to be passed because it will not only usher in a culture of respect and knowledge of the water, but it can save lives. Every year there are drownings in Rockaway. I have watched someone drown. If I thought I could manage the water's conditions, I would have gone in after him, but I know my limits, and the water was rough and the rip current was strong. Had this person known these were unsafe conditions, then he would have never entered the water. When someone goes missing in the ocean in Rockaway, there is a large and costly response. I have seen helicopters, police, fire, EMS, and other first responders come to the scene. If we had pools with lessons, water safety education, and experience in the water, these drownings could have been prevented. Lastly, there needs to be more transparency in reporting of data from NYC Parks lifeguards. In support of your legislation 3294, we need data from lifeguard operations. Obviously, there's a problem since we have a shortage. Let's all work together to solve the problem. There is such a missed opportunity in that an ocean-facing community, such as Rockaway, cannot have an open dialogue with its own lifeguards. If we had a pool to start training, we could even have a junior lifeguard program. Every New Yorker should have the opportunity to enjoy and exercise safely in a pool or even the ocean. We need pools, we need swim lessons, and our communities will thrive because of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have Rita Ikonen.
Hello. I'm here to voice support for the introduction of bills 0760 0962 3294. Free no-cost swimming lessons to young people under age 13 and increasing the availability of public pools and public access to pools throughout New York City. I often say in my visual art practice that if I can get people to know about something, they have the chance to care about it too. I am a Rockaway Beach resident, and our most formidable neighbor is the sea. It is important for all our survival to be able to coexist with the forces that make the Atlantic Ocean. I feel this bill will empower New Yorkers to learn about swim safety and care about our oceans and waterways. Being able to face climate change challenges in our peninsula means being able to swim to safety. Where I live, during Sandy, we had 6 feet of water connecting the ocean to the bay. This is obviously traumatizing, but imagining not knowing how to swim in this kind of situations and also recognizing that we can expect to face more and more frequent storms leading to a repeat of these events. Even a regular rain event has our streets flooding. Imagine if you aren't equipped with basic life skills, such as swimming, to help yourself and your family in such crises. In the busiest summer months, every single weekend seems about Glastonbury Festival worth of people descend to our beaches. Having trained lifeguards is essential, but having the tens of thousands of beachgoers know how to swim is even better. When we have access to pools and teaching from an early age, we can have greater understanding on living at the Atlantic Ocean and what it means to responsibly interact with the tides and the weather in all its complexities. Last year, I ran a series of swimming workshops. They were synchronized sea swimming, led by a pro synchro coach, with the aim to sync with our most formidable neighbor. Everyone was invited to attend the free workshops supported by the Queen's Council on the Arts, and we had a number of people on the shore saying they thought what we were doing looked so fun, but they didn't know how to swim, so they couldn't participate. I support the advancement of swim education and pool access. Please help more people in my community to have the means for survival, access to the arts, sports, and wellness too. These bills are crucial for the well-being of this city. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Now we have Jinda Shu from World Journal. No? Scott Carney. Good afternoon.
This chamber to the Parks Committee about the inefficiencies at capital projects and recommended how to fix it, representing DC 37's Technical Guild. I'm returning this year for the second time. I was here previously this year. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be here again. A decade ago, I should have been making deadlines on budget instead of being here. Now, instead of being here, I should be volunteering at a climate change advocate's office on this other side of retirement. Again, this committee offers the same empty words as Richie Torres's committee did, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones that knows the futility in this committee's approach to delays. People essentially, in the most part, children in your districts and the entire city are suffering. How dare you put on the pretenses to care about capital projects as delays and reforms? Years before, in my 2014 testimony. The lack of efficiencies at Parks Capital Projects were crystal clear. Many newspapers, park advocacy groups, community organizations were writing about it. This is the third time I've given testimonies. I can't count the number of emails that are in your office with the answers to these delays. You're guilty of equivocating. Equivocating costs taxpayers millions. Your arrogance is going to be paid by the cheating of children of their playgrounds. I hope they never forgive you unless you become reasonable and stop $10 million worth of Parks Capital budget delays. I come here again asking you to please be reasonable. Implement the DDC's efficiency program. I've sworn under oath that you have the solutions in your office that are far beyond anything the New York City Parks Department report that you've asked for can do. If you doubt that, have the Comptroller's Office do a preliminary audit comparing the departments. And we all know the answer. Parks wastes more than DDC does. It's simple. You say in here that you understand the urgency, but no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that, because if you really understood the situation and still keep failing to act, then you would be evil. And I refuse to believe that my Parks Committee is truly evil. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Now we'll call up Jeremy Jones.
Thank you very much for having us and the rest of the committee, and the Parks Department for coming by. And I almost feel like, what I had to say, it's sort of like we kind of worked this out already, right? Everybody agrees that, like, hey, we need more pools and we want to fund it. And so maybe I'll try to keep it brief because I think we figured it out, and I think everybody is in agreement. So what's the issue? Why are we here, right? But anyway, I wrote this and I came down. So again, I'd like to thank you for having us. My name's Jeremy Jones. I'm a resident of Rockaway Beach. I'm a lifelong swimmer, body surfer, and lover of all things aquatic. The joy that being in the water brings me is so beyond my capacity to express to you in words today, so I'll keep it brief and leave it at this. I love the water. I was very fortunate to have been able to learn to swim at a very young age. It started with my family, then swim lessons at the Y, and have continued to this day swimming in the Atlantic Ocean where I live. I was very lucky to have that access, and I've come to understand that so many people don't, which is why I'm here to support the bills that as put forth. While many have learned to swim in the ocean, it's not the most comfortable environment for a young person to learn in. There are currents and waves, it's cold, and there are creatures in there. The pool's a natural choice, of course, and through my involvement with my local civic association, Big Ups, Rockaway Beach Civic, I learned about the lack of public pools, not only in our neighborhood, but also throughout New York City. And how can this be in a city surrounded by water? We've all heard the stats about how many people drown in our waters each year, and these are tragic year after year. And I can tell you, sitting on my porch in the evenings, particularly on the weekends, anytime after 6, you'll hear that helicopter, and you know what is coming. And we need to do everything we can to stop that, because it's hard for everybody involved. We are aware that funding in the budget is always tricky, and that the Parks Department always lacks the funding they deserve, as they play such an important role to the health and well-being of our citizens. So here's our big chance. Let's look at the possibilities for new pools in the areas that need them most. And I can tell you there's plenty of available land in my home in the Rockaways. Maybe we do something really weird, like build a nice public pool or two instead of another condo development. It probably even costs less, and it will definitely serve more people in ways that will last a lifetime. Thank you again for your time today, and I'll see you in the water.
Thank you for your testimony. Now we have Bridget Klipinski. If you could please turn on your mic.
Is that better? Yep. Okay. Hello, my name is Bridget Klipinski. I'm here to voice support for the introduction of bills 760 and 962 aimed at providing no-cost swimming lessons to young people under age 13 and increasing the availability of public pools and public access to pools throughout New York City. As a Rockaway resident, I currently serve as president of the Rockaway Beach Civic Association. While I'm testifying today as an individual resident, our Civic Association is an active member of the Water Safety Coalition, a group of residents, community groups, and local nonprofit organizations working together since 2021 to advance water safety throughout New York City and beyond. Each summer in Rockaway, we witness numerous water rescues, and throughout New York City, there have been tragic incidents resulting in injury or loss of life due to drowning. Free swimming lessons and increased access for the public to swimming pools, whether within schools or New York City Parks facilities, would expand the opportunity for both in-water and out-of-water education. This preparation could be life-saving during recreational swimming or when individuals find themselves in an emergency situation such as flooding, a boating accident, or a simple fall into a body of water. In recent years, and anticipated more frequently due to climate change, we've seen hot weather and very warm days extending far beyond the traditional summer season of Memorial Day to Labor Day. Just a few weeks back, we experienced days topping 80 degrees in the middle of April. The city's beaches and waterfront areas were crowded with visitors, though no lifeguards or seasonal staff were yet present. When the water is hot, people are more inclined to enter the water, which poses an additional risk when lifeguards are not on duty. In cases like this, knowing how to swim might be life-saving. Related to lifeguards, especially on the Rockaway Peninsula, a community surrounded by the ocean and bay and geographically isolated from many parts of the city, increased access to public pools would create more availability for lifeguard training and testing. There are good jobs available through the lifeguard program, but as I understand, candidates are presently required to travel significant distance for lifeguard training and testing, which is a limiting factor for so many. We know there's reported to be a nationwide shortage of lifeguards. Increased localized training opportunities through swimming pool availability and access would ideally cultivate and ease the lifeguard training process, resulting in enhanced employment opportunity and an expanded lifeguard department throughout New York City. Preparing all New Yorkers for experiences in the water, whether recreation or emergency situations, is a critical need. We are a city surrounded by water, rivers, bays, and the ocean, which brings opportunity for great enjoyment through swimming, surfing, paddling, boating, and other activities. As a city, we've also experienced the impacts of devastating storms, whether hurricanes or extreme wind and rain. With this in mind, and as we move into the future, I support the advancement of swim education and pool access for recreation, health and wellness, and as a potential life-saving measure. Bills 760 and 962 would do much to advance this goal. Thank you for this opportunity to voice my support today.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And now we have Shanna Blanchard.
Is this still on? Okay, great. Good afternoon, Chair. Thanks for having me. My name is Shanna Blanchard. I'm here on behalf of the Water Safety Coalition. As you've noticed, there are many of us here today, all behind me, and many friends of the coalition as well. We're a group of concerned citizens and nonprofit organizations working to make water safety education an essential right for all. We offer our full support to introduce bills 760, 962, and 3294, that's a mouthful, and hope that these bills can turn the tide in how the city prioritizes water safety and how our citizens can equitably and safely interact with our city of water. Much of our work has focused on the Rockaway Peninsula, as I'm sure you've noticed. It's a bay and ocean-facing community. While this seemingly offers a great opportunity for waterfront access and water-based recreation, There are many gaps in the city's infrastructure and education system that make for a deadly and dangerous summer year after year. In Rockaway, residents dread the sight of helicopters hovering over open water, as that usually means that a near death or drowning has occurred. While a coastal community, Rockaway has no city-operated public pool with swim and water safety programs where residents can learn to swim and/or be trained to be a lifeguard. The unfortunate reality is that someone will likely drown off the coast of Rockaway in the coming months. It's a really sobering thought, and it's very, very possible and very, very much a reality. As our climate continues to warm and beach season extends far past the historically accepted dates of Memorial Day to Labor Day, it is critical that the city take preventative measures to deliver the life-saving skills, education, and infrastructure New York City residents need to positively and safely benefit from their waterfronts. We believe these bills are important steps in that direction. As you know, many young people do not have access to water safety education tools and programs. This inequity costs lives. According to the CDC, 1 in 5 people who die from drowning are children 14 and younger. We believe that Bill 760 can save lives and better connect young people to their local environment and introduce them to a range of opportunities, including jobs, hobbies, and social and community connection. We know, of course, that New York City needs more pools to most equitably deliver swimming skills and access, which is why Bill 962 is so critical in building the swim and water safety infrastructure New York City needs. We also know that we need appropriate staffing and facilities to deliver water-based programming and access to New Yorkers, and we strongly support Bill 3294. We acknowledge the complexity in hiring of seasonal staff to best safeguard our beaches and pools, and believe this legislation is one step in building out a broader network of lifeguards and the resources needed to maintain facilities and open spaces that can allow for equitable and safe access to water-based recreation. We further acknowledge that there is substantial funding needed to make this collective legislation a reality. We support the Play Fair campaign and believe that 1% of the city budget for New York City parks can help address these inequities, but we need far more funding for that as well, to make all of this a reality. We hope that this collective legislation is the beginning of further city investment in water safety and equitable waterfront access and water-based recreation. We strongly support the City Council in passing this legislation and hope that the city will also consider additional life-saving measures such as incorporating water safety education in the classroom and assessing and extending the traditional beach season and lifeguard hours. That's really important. We're also working at the state level to advance legislation that would allow for water safety education in all public schools across the state. This is a really special time for a lot of, highlighting a lot of these issues. So we're really excited about this legislation. We want to help. Thank you for your time, and please let us know how we can help.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And now we'll move to our last witnesses on virtual. We have Cirio Guarino.
Your time will start now.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
Good.
This is Heather Guarino. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can start with your testimony.
Okay, great. Thank you all for being here. I am so happy that Councilmember Eric Dinowitz had brought a very important issue to our community in reference to DeWitt Clinton, our pool. Our pool has not been utilized for several years, so therefore our children are unable to swim in that gorgeous pool. So that was what I really wanted to testify about, but I am so honored that our council member, Eric Dinowitz, brought it to everyone's attention, and I'm hoping that his testimony does not fall on deaf ears. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this very important hearing, and I hope that within the next couple of months, our students can actually start taking swimming lessons. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Now we'll move to Khalid Sadiq.
Your time will start now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Galit Sadiq. I am from Rockaway Beach, New York, and I want to speak to you all as well as Council Member Brooks Powers regarding getting a pool in Rockaway. I'm also here on behalf of a nonprofit organization called the Diversity Initiative, and it is our mission to create safe underwater spaces for everyone. And I think that this is a very big part of that. We currently run something called Community Pool, where we actually rent a pool, and every Friday we have people, we have dive masters, dive instructors, and people can come, and it's by donation. They can come and practice safe swimming. They can practice scuba diving. They can practice mermaiding. They can practice all different things in the pool. And I think that this and creating another pool and giving swimming lessons to people would create those kind of safe spaces and allow everyone to have access to the water. One of our goals is underwater for all by 2030, and that is so important. Having a way to teach people how to swim, a place to teach people how to swim, free access to underwater areas, free access to swimming lessons is so important. It's life-saving. You teach a person how to swim and you can save their life. Besides for the fact that there are tons of other benefits that come with swimming, whether it be cardiovascular, getting exercise. There's just so many benefits, and the underwater, we work with a lot of veterans and people that are disabled, and the underwater is so therapeutic to people. So giving them an underwater space that is free and accessible is something that could benefit them in more ways than we could count. I'm going to keep it short and end it there. Thank you very much for taking your time and listening.
Thank you for your testimony. Now we have Ebony Beatty.
Your time starts now.
Good afternoon. My name is Ebony Beatty. I'm a resident of Rockaway resident and executive director of Ocean Bay Community Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit social service organization that has served the Rockaway community for over 20 years. I'm pleased to be here to support the Bill 962 to address public swimming pool locations and swimming lessons offered by the Department of Parks and Recreation. Swimming is an essential skill in the Rockaways, given the proximity to the bay and ocean. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Councilwoman Savina Brooks Powers for introducing the bill. The Rockaways, which is in the Community District 14, is 11-mile long peninsula, and at most maybe 1 mile wide, surrounded by water on 3 sides, which includes Jamaica Bay and Atlantic Ocean. It is a minority community and has endured the brunt of decade-long disfranchisement. We want to thank you for recognizing the change is needed in how decisions are made, and the time is now. Today, our focus is on the youth of the Rockaway Peninsula and the urgent need to plan today for our children's future and incorporating into the Auburn East Phase 3 plan, if possible, to provide a youth-led economic engine that includes an aquatic center with an Olympic-sized pool, medical academy, and theater for the arts. The Urban Renewal Plan clearance had began in the 1960s under Robert Moss. Since its departure, the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, HPD, has led the efforts to rebuild those 308 acres. Phase 1 in 2003 was the approval of the first over 4,000 units of housing. When completed, over 10,000 residents were added to the community district in the 2020 census. Phase 2, recently completed, focused on important sustainable elements along the waterfront that have improved drainage and public access to the streets, to the boardwalk, along other elements that are vital to the sustainability of the community. During this phase, the YMCA was built with a pool. This was a welcome addition to the community. Unfortunately, the cost is not affordable to most families. Phase 3, the last phase of the Auburn Urban Renewal era, is 116 acres. Phase 3 will begin this year, which seems to be the planning stages. We have requested a site plan with details including a street layout and have yet to receive it. Although the recent URLA report of the approval of the MX zone did specify 1,650 additional housing units, which is 35.
Your time is expired.
30 affordable. So I'll wrap it up. Lastly, my final point. Recently, Howard University in Atlanta was one to cover Sport Illustrated of an entirely Black swim team pursuing a Northeast Conference championship. It is estimated that 1.5 of the country's over 250,000 competitive swimmers are Black, which in the Rockaways is a minority of Black residents. The lack of access to this sport has failed the Black population, and we want to make that change in New York, particularly in the Rockaways. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We now have Aiden Gabriel.
Your time will start now.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon. My name is Aiden Gabriel. I am the executive director and founder of the La Rubella Collective out in Far Rockaway. I'm also part of the Water Safety Coalition that's been speaking here today. I am a lifelong resident of Far Rockaway. This is very personal to me, and I'll try and be brief. I know everybody wants to go to lunch, but this is super important. I started this nonprofit back in 2018 to diversify the lineup. We provide free surf lessons to youth out here in Far Rockaway, particularly Black and brown youth. I noticed when my daughter wanted to learn how to surf that there were not a lot of people who looked like her. And when I started the nonprofit, I thought the biggest thing was going to be the cost. Surfing is super expensive. And that wasn't the biggest thing. I soon learned that the majority of the kids that we were getting, over 75%, did not know how to swim. They had no experience in the water, which meant that I couldn't bring them into the program safely. I had to scramble my first year and run all over New York City to find pools to get these children swimming lessons. 38 years ago, when I entered high school in Far Rockaway High School, we had swimming. It was a requirement. You took swimming classes, was part of graduating. Years later, that was gone. What changed? I know the demographics of the area changed. People didn't have access to the pool anymore, and it wasn't a requirement anymore. A lot of people spoke about all the development in Rockaway. Lots of development coming in, wonderful housing for everyone. I'm all for it. But along with that, the population is increasing. People are coming out with, more children. The weather's warming up. What do we have? Memorial Weekend is coming up, and it's probably going to be warm enough before Memorial Weekend when the lifeguards are out for the kids to get into the water. You're not going to stop kids from getting into the water. Oh, don't they know better? I was one of those kids. I didn't know how to swim when I was 11 years old, and I almost drowned right here on Beach 25th Street. And so I say all that to say, the biggest impediment to me getting these kids in the water was just having access to a pool. I had the funds, I had the volunteers, I had everything else. I couldn't find the pool to get these kids into the water. We had to use some of the organizers' pools who lived in Manhattan, who lived in Brooklyn. We would have to load these kids up in a minivan and drive all over the city to find a pool to teach these kids how to swim. So I'm glad this is being discussed now. I hope something happens. I hope something happens really, really soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Our final witness in person is Caitlin Kraus.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Caitlin Kraus, and I am the founder and executive director of Rising Tide Effect, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that seeks to empower positive change in underserved communities through the aquatic experience. I also sit on the task force the commissioner mentioned before, along with Swim Strong. Swimming is a critical skill, and it's essential to being a human on Earth. We have a serious problem with childhood drownings in the country, and we have an especially critical issue with youth drowning in New York City beaches, such as the Rockaways. Drowning is 95% preventable. Water safety education could save lives, which is why the sister bills and local laws proposed are just as important. Creating pools in underserved communities would work towards fixing the disparity in underserved populations, because swim lessons and water safety knowledge have been largely something that only affluent families can afford for their children. This knowledge should not be a matter of money, especially when we have the resources already available. All human beings should have the right to access this life-saving skill. The Department of Education and the New York City Parks collaboration on this topic would produce opportunities for more New Yorkers to receive water safety and swim education. The pools in public schools and parks in New York City should be activated so that New Yorkers can access them. And we must do everything we can to support the parks and the DOE in this collaboration. With me today are my colleagues from the Water Safety Coalition. We have suggested solutions to share with those who are interested in hearing some options for a way forward on these issues. On behalf of the Rising Tide Effect and the Water Safety Coalition, we support the 3 pieces of local laws and legislation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. All right, well, that concludes our hearing for today. I want to thank all of our water safety and swimming advocates who came out to testify very powerfully about the need to expand our pool access, the importance of water safety, and the importance of having a true picture of the lifeguard crisis that we face right now and the importance of proper staffing. Couldn't agree more about how this is an urgent issue for our city and our Parks Department to address. Thank you all for testifying on our piece of legislation too. Look forward to all of our continued work with the Parks Department together to make sure that we really can achieve a city that, as surrounded by water, is one where water safety is prioritized, where everyone knows how to swim, and every community has access to a pool. I want to thank, in particular, our committee staff on Parks and Recreation, Chris Sartori, Patrick Mulvihill, Michael Sherman, Julia Friedenberg, and Ann Driscoll. In particular, to our data scientists for just a phenomenal job with all of the data and demographic information they've posted. I encourage everyone to go visit and see it. And of course, to my office staff as well, our Legislative Director, Greg Clark, our Chief of Staff, Chuck Park. Thank you all so much. That concludes our hearing for today.